What's up? Welcome to Comic Book Nation's Invincible recap bonus episode. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and joining me today is my co-host, Matthew Aguilar.
What's up, everybody?
And who's been joining us for this whole Invincible Season 2 run, one of our Comicbook.com gaming experts, Mr. Logan Moore, is with us again.
Hello, thank you for having me back.
And if you guys are just now getting into this because you love Invincible as much as we do, be sure to go listen to all our recap episodes and subscribe to Comic Book Nation. We do a ton of content. We're like a little geek universe in one podcast. So be sure to subscribe and don't miss anything that we're putting out this week, including all our past Invincible recap episodes. But man, we got to talk today. Invincible Season 2, Episode 3. This missive, this machination. These titles are crazy. Just to let you know, these Season 2 titles are even crazier. But yeah, Logan, we all got to see kind of all four of this first batch of Invincible Season 2 episodes. And I've been taking it at a slower pace. I kind of like to keep up a little bit ahead, just a little bit ahead of the audience, but not too far. But you guys, of course, just ate this whole chunk whenever you guys got the screeners. And Logan, you had told me that these next two are going to be a ride, and you weren't kidding. And so episode 3 is, again, they pack so much into these episodes. Can we just say, like, right off the bat, it is crazy how much this show packs in. It always takes me just 2 rewatches just to get ready for these. And then, like, also to, like, do the writing and the recaps and all that, I got to watch it a third time. So thank God I have these screeners. Shout out to Amazon Prime Video, because without you guys, I don't know if I'd be able to accurately or just, respectfully cover this show, because there is so much going on. And this episode is no different, right? Just to let you guys know the rundown, we had major life developments, an episode within the middle of an episode before we get to a whole other episode. And boy, howdy, what a cliffhanger. So let's just dive right in. Matt, you weren't here with us last week, buddy. You were under the weather. So what were your thoughts about this episode of Invincible?
Well, echoing your sentiments, I feel like few shows take as much advantage of an hour as Invincible does. Like, their time management is like on par. It's fantastic. There's so much that happens in these things. I agreed with you. I watched the your rundown of everything, and I pretty much was kind of right in line with you guys. I thought last week's episode was probably the weakest, just because the 4 episodes as a whole are so good. And episode 3, I feel like really just like picks up right after. The Debbie stuff is just so well done. There's so much turmoil and complexities to very much like grief in a way, even though Omni-Man's still alive. There's so much of a grieving family and things. So it's very like it's just the way they explore that. His Mark's relationship, it's just there's so much there that's explored, like even just away from all the superpowered stuff, even away from all that, just the character development side of the season is fantastic. And episode 3, I feel like, embodies that. Like, there's so much of that in here that when we get to the fun kind of the bigger stuff, it's great, but like the grounding part of the series, like episode 3 is a perfect embodiment of what the series does.
Yeah, let's work backwards, because I feel like a lot of people might jump into this after kind of getting to the end and being like, whoa. And so, like, let's kind of work backwards, because we have our little slideshow rolling in the background if you're watching this on video. What a cliffhanger, right? We've all been wondering, like, when Omni-Man, because again, I've never read the Invincible comics. I am just coming to this as a fan of the animated series, and apparently there's enough kind of changes that's pretty much okay. So for people like me, this was kind of a shock, because in no way did I think this is where we would get to see Omni-Man again. And in this capacity, which leaves us with so many questions, right? Like, Mark gets talked into going to this bug planet and saying goodbye to Earth and doing this whole thing. And he gets there and, he finds his father is like God, a king, or whatever he has going on there. And it's not how we, expected to see Omni-Man again. And I love Invincible for that. He looks like chill. He almost sounds like Zen. He's not covered in blood, which is unusual for seeing Omni-Man at this point. And of course, we had the kind of teaser with the kind of fake out with the opening of the season and the alternate universe. But this was, this was a surprise. And it's good that even in these densely packed episodes, like I said, where so much happens, we still get this crazy kind of almost comic book style cliffhanger ending that I know is going to have the Invincible fandom like just saying what I'm saying. And I think I put it in our rundown here. It's just like, we need episode 4 right now. Like, give it to us right now. But yeah, Logan, I know you are burdened with knowledge because you are our biggest Invincible fan. So what do you want to say? I mean, I don't ask you so much what you felt about this, but more so like, is there anything you want to say to the people who are
I was
waiting with anticipation right now?
I knew we were going to get to this point soon, obviously. And the thing I was very fascinated with seeing was how, like, what the cliffhanger would be, because there are kind of two optional cliffhangers. I don't want to spoil anything with episode 4, but there's something very early in the first 5 to 10 minutes of episode 4 that could have also been used as a cliffhanger to close out this episode. And I was very curious to see where they would cut things off, because there are a couple big revelations here that happen within to close out this first chunk of season 2. I think the way that they did it is perfect. It's because that's the, I mean, we talked about it last week. Like, that is the thing that everybody is looking forward to the most. Like, where's Omni-Man? How are they going to tie this back in? Because he's clearly one of the main characters of the show. So where's he at? What's he doing? What's going on? And they show you just enough to where you can kind of piece together what's going on. Like you said, he's like this god king of this planet far away from Earth now. They give you enough to make you really interested. But people who don't know where this is going are going to have a rough next week, I would imagine, before episode 4 drops. And even once that drops, there's a lot of other stuff that happens here that I'm very, very excited to see people respond to.
Yeah, because episode 4 is our last before the hiatus, right? Like, we get a break, and I think we're not back until what, 2024, and then like, oh man,
hopefully they announce the return date for the show like pretty soon after episode 4 drops, because right now I don't think they've even committed to like a specific window within next year. I mean, early next year, but they haven't said like January, February. Like, I assume it's something around there, but hopefully we find out soon.
Yeah, I'm sure they've been wanting to also like promote it and do more for it. So like, we've seen how quickly the machine is starting already. Like, so hopefully, they can get back to rolling, and we get episode 4 in a kind of release date for the second batch, because this is starting to heat up and it's starting to get real nuts. Let's dig into some finer points of the episode. So like, again, this is a show where I think we said in episode 2, like, it's insane what this show treats as heavy or not, and like how much they can get through in terms of like a superhero, where other superhero stories or comics or TV shows would make like a whole episode about this. But in this episode, it just like quickly, Mark starts college and loses his virginity in this episode. Two big things that you would think that would be, like I said, significant. But we then get this voiceover that cuts away, and we get this mini episode with none other than our boy, Alan the Alien, which I know made Matt happy. I know Matt loves this kind of stuff.
It's great. Well, it's awesome. It didn't overstay its welcome. I didn't think it did.
You can, but you're iffy on Seth Rogen sometimes. But like, I know you love Alan the Alien like a whole lot.
Hey, when Seth Rogen is like, you're right. I have a mixed. I don't like love every single thing that Seth Rogen does.
I know you.
However, I love Pumbaa. His Pumbaa's great, and I love Alan. Like, it's like when he's in the right spot, he's great. He's fantastic.
Yeah. So we get this mini Alan the Alien episode, which is kind of like a little of a side. But when I went back and watched it a couple times, there are some pretty important things to kind of put in the back of your mind. I can already feel it, like his whole origin and the origin of his species, and kind of making it, and their whole connection to the Viltrumites seems kind of crazy. And then we get this episode introduces to a whole new character who looks like he's going to be significant, but it's so hard to even remember he's in here. And it's freaking Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime, no less, as Thetis. I believe I did kind of look up and research, but Thetis, who kind of is the head of the Galactic Coalition. And of course, by the end, again, just trying to keep all this in mind is so insane and with this show. But by the end of that Alan mini episode, we find out that Thetis is also pretty sinister, and there's something going on, and the Galactic Coalition isn't, this benevolent body that we have been led to believe, perhaps. And it's kind of crazy the amount of stuff that happens. We get a whole origin story for Alan. Like, he gets a whole kind of like mission, and then he gets beaten horribly to death, or near death, and then they just finish him off in the old recuperate in the old alien ICU. So Matt, how'd you feel after all that? Because I know you loved, past tense, Alan the alien.
I mean, look, I was clearly bummed, but but everything about it was done so well. It's one of those things, like this show and the comic especially, like, deaths hit hard, but you're also kind of programmed to, like, you expect them. It's like, I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, and I feel like Invincible set the tone for this in the show pretty early on, right? I mean, of like, don't really become tied to a bunch of characters, because they're gonna, even if they don't die, they're gonna be like horribly maimed or or put through the ringer and suffer some kind of terrible trauma. Like, you're just kind of conditioned that way. So, like, it's bittersweet, but it's still, I still thought it was so well done. And while we didn't get like Omni-Man, covered in blood and stuff, there was plenty of blood in this episode. Like, there was plenty of brutality in this episode.
Yeah, and let's get in even deeper, because there is, again, so much in these episodes. Just without any real physical brutality, the Debbie story arc in this, and this whole arc with her in the support group, and coming up with what's that Green Lantern knockoff, like Green Shade or whatever her name was. Like, I only got to meet these guys for like part of an episode before they got torn apart.
I know. I just love. I mean, look, if you're gonna have a lot of people coming out of this episode going, "Hey, what's with the puppy Doctor Strange?" Like, it's gonna
seance dog, baby.
Seance dog. Yeah, we haven't even gotten to all that.
You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna have a lot of people doing that. It's the same way with Green Lantern. Like, you're gonna be like, "What? Who's that? When did Doctor Strange become a puppy?"
But yeah, like that whole storyline, like that is so, you have all this comic book stuff happening with the bugs and stuff, but that's so deeply like real. And I was just like, poor Sandra Oh, like, they give her this animated voice acting job, and it's just like, pretend you're emotionally battered for like an entire season. How many times do you think you can cry in the booth? But yeah, it's just, that is such, and it's so well done. It's like right up there with like any number of dramas like I would see on HBO or something, except it's like in this animated comic book universe. And I never feel like it doesn't work or it doesn't drag, or I'm like, oh God, can we get back to like superheroing? You know what I mean? Like, I feel for Debbie, and I'm like, I'm worried for her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm worried where all of this is heading. And like you said, I think what's so good about this show is you never know who might go, who they might cut, and like where the storyline can cut, because this is a show where literally we can cut down to another whole person's life in an episode, and you never know. So I thought Alan would be around a lot longer and lead a charge of Galactic Coalition. He just got beat to death, and horribly. And so, like, yeah, I don't know like what happens to Debbie on a long enough timeline of being like this, unless there's some kind of big turnaround and what it means for her to turn around and what it means for Mark and all of that stuff. But it feels just as crucial. And like, you could feel like the bomb go off when that guy like tells her don't come back to support group, and she's just like standing out there all alone, like in the thing. And I was like, man, I need a drink or something like after this. Like, yeah, so dark. But other weird, crazy things that happen. It was played for a joke last week, but then this week it gets so deep with even with Duplicate and Immortal, and explaining like why those two are together. and her kind of telling Rex, like, you don't know what it's like to die over and over again. And I'm like, whoa, like pretty crazy, pretty deep stuff. Yeah. I didn't know I'd be shipping Immortal and Duplicate, but now I'm like, yes, maybe they can heal each other. Maybe they can help each other.
Start their own support group.
We did get something really cute in this, Matt. I know you love this, which was Rudy and Monster Girl going on a movie date.
They're adorable. They're I ship them. they're adorable. But like, I think that's the magic of this episode too. There's a lot of, like you mentioned, there's a lot of heavy stuff, but like then, like, you know, like Mark comes in and there's like this kind of, it's nice to see hope on his face again. You know what I mean? Like there's like, you can see him like trying to process things, and like,
well, he got to college and he got laid. I mean, like,
well, I mean, yes, I know, but even the conversations before then, Jesus, even the conversations before that are like, it's just nice to see, like, you know, this show is like very, especially the first few episodes, because of where we left off in season 1, it's just very heavy in trauma and grief. And so it's, you know, it's nice to see those moments of light come through, and like, you know, Rudy and like, they're light. It's just adorable to see them like interact and all that. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, I'm just glad nobody had a seizure, or like Monster Girl didn't like have a sudden de-aging thing, and again it got awkward. I was just happy that it was just like you need a nice wholesome moment in Invincible every now and again just to keep you laughing. And Alan's love life did not count as that, so thankfully we had this. Although that was funny, the little juxtaposition of like every time there was like a little love scene, the narrator's like, all right, let's get out of here.
Is that the first time they've done the narrator stuff before? I can't remember that.
I believe so. Episodes. Yeah, I don't think. No, I just rewatched. What am I saying? Yeah, no, they've never done like a narrator like that. That was like the first time they've done something.
That was a very funny bit between Mark and Alan's storylines. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this thing. So, getting to the end of our we've done the recap. Let's talk about going forward. And yes, we've seen, you know, we know what happens, but we're going to have to pretend that we don't for all the people who don't know what happens. So clear your minds now. Imagine white space. And let's ask this question. Do you think we can trust? Initially, we see kind of Nolan standing there. He's not, you know, attacking Mark. He's not doing this. He seems to have now people under him that he's responsible for. Can we trust this? Do you trust it? Do you trust that this is like in a season? Because there's so many fake outs in a season where there could be alternates, there, you know, variants, there could be all kinds of things going on. Do we trust this?
I mean, he kind of had a moment of realization at the end of the first season, you think, where he's fighting his son and then he flies off into space. And now that he's ended up on this random planet that no one would ever expect him to be on, it raises questions about why he's there. And I don't know. Obviously, again, I am cursed with much knowledge about the larger Invincible series and
so well.
where they're going with season 2 here.
Dude, we still got him?
There we go. We got him back.
All right.
Am I cutting out a lot?
You stalled right there, so I missed the last part what you said.
I think the Invincible makers, they got to you. They heard us. They heard you start.
Yeah, I think they did.
You said too much. No.
I think they did. But yeah, I don't know. At face value, it looks like he might be going off to a new planet to achieve his Viltrum mission of taking over various planets. But then again, he seemed to have some sort of sympathy at the end of season 1 for Mark. So
yeah, I mean, I know a little bit of what's happened, but I don't know the larger scope of Invincible. And I know that, yes, Nolan had this moment where he kind of, something did change with him on Earth, but you know, the thing that's great about Omni-Man's character is you never know when you slip into that sociopathic type viewpoint of a Viltrumite, where there's just like, oh, yes, I'm caring for these people, but these other people we should probably eliminate. Like, you don't never know when it goes like that. It's going to be kind of interesting to see. And how Alan died has pretty big implications too, right? We get like the reverse Zod set, you know, kind of trio of Viltrumites who are beating him to death over like what he knows about Earth. So this is clearly starting to come into focus for the Viltrumite Empire. And, our biggest allies, the Galactic Coalition, may not be the help that we need. So I'm kind of very interested on like where that all goes, because I know one thing. I know Robert Kirkman has read all these old stories, but then he knows how to veer away from some of these things. So I don't think it's ever going to be as straightforward as we think. Right. So so I mean, that just brings us full circle to say, give us episode 4 now. We're kind of sitting here twisting on the knife, and I can't wait to see like kind of what's next and to see how people come out of next week and what we have to talk about. So yeah, this is going to be real interesting.
One thing I want to mention real quick that I don't think we touched on at all. Viltrumites show up in this episode. I don't think that's it. I mean, we talked about Alan getting beat up and beat with an
referencing,
yeah, like that's gonna start getting way more common moving forward. There's a whole empire of Viltrumites out there, and we're only now starting to see a few of them trickle in. So that's something to keep an eye and keep in mind moving forward, because it ends up being a huge central part of the entire series.
All right.
That's a tease right there. Yeah, buddy.
Good tease. Final question. This is now, I believe, what is this? Episode 3. We saw Angstrom just once at the end of episode 2. But that was like our kickoff from episode 1, and he's not in this episode at all. Do we think that's taking too much of a slow burn? Do you think that needs to speed up? Logan, I know you can answer this. Let's just frame it for you, Logan. Is this going to be worth the wait, however long it is?
Yeah. Yes. I think I mentioned this in one of our previous episodes, but the thing I like the most about Angstrom is that he's kind of always lurking out there, and you don't really know when he's going to show up or where he's at or what he's doing. This fact that he can snap between different dimensions and realities at all times. He's kind of a constant threat out there. So yes, what they end up doing with him is great. I don't want to say too much else. The slow burn will be very much worth it. I'll say this. There's a reason episode 1 was solely centered around setting him up. Like, that will come back into play at some point. Obviously, I haven't seen the full season 2, but having read the comics, I know what they're going to do. And yes, that will end up, it'll end up being great. It's his arc is one of my favorite things in the comics. So I'm very excited to see how they adapt that here.
All right. So guys, you heard that.
Logan's killing it on the teases today, gotta say.
Yeah. You heard it from the man who knows.
It's hard because I want to say so much, and it's I don't know. I don't want to say things at the same time.
No, you're perfect.
Well, that's a good way to segue into saying thank you for joining us for our Invincible recap. Make sure you guys are here every week, because Logan's just sitting here about to burst. He has so much to say. I feel like we have to trickle it out a little bit each week, where he gets to kind of cook and let off some steam. So
I'm so excited to talk about next week's episode. I'm very excited to talk about that one with you guys.
All right. Matt, you have any parting thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I mean, like, if you're not watching this show, you're missing out. This is fantastic stuff. And as far as the extra thing, I'm like, where would they have put him? This episode was so full anyway. Like,
bro, I watch every one of these episodes to like the bitter end of the last credit.
Yeah,
just in case.
It's like where would they have stuck more? But they would have probably found a way. They'd probably cut a minute somewhere and just like stick that in. But no, I thought this was great. I cannot wait to talk about 4. I need a date for the second half, please. No, like March, April. I need like January. I need like
I swear to God, I hope it's not like some crazy way.
Yeah, like don't push it to like pre-summer, okay? Like I need it soon.
Get up through like the dark days of winter and give us
yeah.
All right, we've done the thing. Let's get out of here. This is Comic Book Nation. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts. Also, subscribe to our Comic Book Nation YouTube page, where we drop all kinds of recap episodes, immediate reactions to things, our regular live episodes every Friday on YouTube. And you can hit us up at Comic Book Nation. We're going to get out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Invincible. Let us know what you thought on Twitter, or leave a comment under this YouTube video and tell us what you thought, what theories you have. We love to hear from you guys. Matt, Logan, I will see you guys both in a minute to do more Comic Book Nation stuff, and next week for more Invincible. We are Comic Book Nation. Peace.